groups of people going out and turning in hundreds or even 1,000 ballots from the back of a pickup truck or trunk of a car. I mean, to me, in my life as an attorney, that raises a red flag that there's potential fraud going on there. Seems to me that if you're opposing that you got something to hide. And so I think that there are some very common sense things that we can continue to do to streamline that process.
On that theme for a second, let's see. It's been suggested that all elections be all mail ballot, all mail-in ballots. Please discuss the thoughts of eliminating voting at a poll.
I think you ought to allow people to vote still on the day of elections. I think that's how the majority actually still of the ballots come in. There are different ways though. It doesn't have to be just mail. We have smartphones today. We have technology that can be done and better identify people. Again, as I said before, if you're not a U.S. citizen, you shouldn't be voting. And how do you check that? Well, we need voter ID. And having voter ID using technology, you can get better voter ID than otherwise. That's how I feel about that.
Yeah, I agree. I don't support an all mail. Actually, it's funny you said mail ballot. I thought, wait, I thought we left out a long time ago. That's what That's right. That's too funny. Mail-in ballots. Frankly, there are a lot of problems with it. I mean, we're not going to back off. I think it's important to make sure we have the access for people who should have the right to vote and are legal citizens and military we'll talk about. I mean, that's a travesty. To think that a member of the armed services doesn't get a voice, that to me is an absolute travesty. We have to make sure that doesn't happen. So but with the mail-in system, there are also potential fraud. And one of those, we talked about the permanent early voting list where you automatically get that ballot. The problem with a system like that, and I'll say it's got some very good things, but the problem with it is when people move, when people die, you end up with live ballots out there sometimes. So we need to take some measures, common sense measures, again, to just make sure that that list is cleaned up so that when ballots are going out, they're going out at a very high level of consistency to the people that are supposed to be getting them, and not just a live ballot somewhere else. Because I think that is setting the stage for some very significant fraud. And as we continue to let this problem compile year after year, more people who are getting ballots sent out to them to places where they shouldn't be getting sent out, it's compounding. So I believe we need to make some common sense changes there.
Mail-in ballot participation has increased voter turnout in astronomical numbers. But I do not really favor the areas that have gone to all mail ballots. And there are some areas of our state that only do mail-in ballots for elections. I think there will always be a place for polling day. There are some interesting things on the horizon with regards to polling or voting centers. Some of the counties have instituted voting centers where you go in, you type in your address into the machine, and the machine spits out your personalized ballot. You may not realize there's thousands of different versions of the ballot around the state because everyone is uniquely tailored to your neighborhood based on, or your district and precinct based on school board and flood control districts and all sorts of stuff. So these voting centers, the counties that are using it, they really, really seem to like it. More important, the citizens seem to really like it. It's easy, it's convenient. So I think there will always be a place for, on election day, I mean, it's so American, election day, going to the polls. But keep in mind that mail-in ballots have increased voter turnout astronomically. And the generations behind us up here are less likely to go to the polls than some of us. So a lot of exciting things happening in the election world, especially with technology.
I guess this would be the assumption that maybe we'll How would you address Medicaid expansion, for or against it, or the effect it'll have?
Let me start with, and somebody asked me this ahead of time, and I voted no. I was in the House and I voted no on Medicaid expansion, and I spoke pretty passionately against it the night that it all went through. And so I mean, I've got a clear record on that. You can look it up and kind of see how I feel about it. My concern is that there is no end game. I understand that we have problems in the way our healthcare system works in this country, in this state, and my feeling is those who supported the Medicaid expansion, I think that for the most part, they weren't trying to hurt the economy. They were trying to help things. They felt that we have a problem. We get the healthcare tax. We're already providing this care, but we're not talking about whether somebody gets care or not. We're providing the care. It's a matter of how it gets paid for. So I understood that was a difficult issue. And I certainly never meant in my comments to disparage anybody who felt that it was something that needed to be done. But I just couldn't ever bring myself in the end to be convinced that there was a way out when we expand. That was the word. When we expand entitlement programs in this country, not me how many times we've ever backed off of those. Not very often. And the reality is we put more money out there, and we invest our taxpayers' money into things that I just don't think is prudent for us to be doing. And so that was the way I came out on that in the end was that it was not a responsible, long-term prospect to expand Medicaid in Arizona.
I was in a little bit of a unique position in my district because when we were talking about Medicaid expansion at the Capitol, almost every hospital, chain or hospital, was in favor of it, and in favor of expansion, except for two. And those two happen to be Scottsdale Healthcare and Mayo Clinic, both smack dab in the middle of my district, and also the largest employers in my district. So voting for expansion was never an option for me, considering that the district I represent. So I was opposed to the expansion. I'm worried that we have now added 300,000+ people to the rolls. I'm worried that the expansion is unsustainable. We're doing the budget this week at the Capitol, and we hope this week we'll get it out. And the numbers are fine for the next couple of years, but then we start running a larger structural deficit in 2017, and a lot of it is directly related to expansion. I would like to just kind of close by saying, I hope I'm wrong, because it's here, or because I hope that when I say I believe it's unsustainable, I hope I'm not right about that, because that is a very, very big problem. There are, before expansion, more people on our state access program, Medicaid, than in K-12 education, all those students combined. And now we've just added to that. So it's an area that I like to say, I hope I'm wrong, and I hope that we are able to find a way to make it sustainable. In the last 5 seconds, I would like to add that I really hope that this is something that as we move forward through the election, that we stop beating each other up over, because the Democrats are just loving it. I really wish we could all kind of come back together, regardless of how people voted.
I oppose saddling future generations with our debt today. Again, C.S. Lewis says, when you put first things first, when you put second and third things first, you often lose the first priority. When you put first things first, you often use the second and third thrown in for free. And we seem to be doing that over again. My son Bo is here. I've been married to my wife for 21 years. We have 5 children. Bo is a twin, although when you see his other twin, which hopefully you'll see, will be down here hopefully a lot. He's a lot taller than he is. Bo, do you mind standing up and just telling everybody what's our family motto? I'm sorry to do this to you, Bo. He hasn't done this. He did this in the Senate campaign, but he's never done this. Been done this for 2 years. I think that's a goal that we all share in the Republican Party, which is we try and lead things better than we find them. And we haven't done so well at that. We've lost trust. Elected officials in our government have lost at least my trust. And I think they've lost a lot of Republicans' trust because they go back to Washington, D.C. or they go somewhere else and are elected and forget the promises they made and forget the principles by which they were elected and expected to abide by. We need more common sense, conservative people in government who actually do and are actually willing to do what they say they're going to do and then return back to the private sector, who aren't looking to make the next step in government, the next step in government, and make a career out of it. That was never the intention of the founding fathers. My grandfather used to say this. He used to say, plant trees, and I know many famous people say this, plant trees the shade of which you will never enjoy. With what we're doing in this state on Medicaid expansion and on many other things, for instance, I'll go back to just clean elections. Just because the fines go to pay for clean elections means we pay higher taxes for the other things the fines were used for before. We need to stop playing those games. And we need to start really living the way you live in your private life, which is spend less money than you earn, period.
Our candidates are really pressed for time today, so I'm going to do 2 more questions, and then I'm going to let them go into their closing statements. What is your position on public traditional schools converting to charter schools, and what effect will it have on school choice and state budgets?